I'm sure I do.
Yes.
Good evening, we'll call the work session to order. The Open Meetings Act is posted in the meeting room and accessible to the members of the public. Consent agenda. All items on the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the city council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or citizen so requests. A, approved agenda as submitted. B, receive and place on file all notices pertaining to this meeting. And C, receive and place on file all materials having been bearing on this meeting. Anybody want to take it on? If not, Mr. McLean.
I move the items listed on the consent agenda be approved, accepted, and ratified as presented.
Sorry.
Gentlemen, vote please. And that passes. Should be 8. All right, you're at 8 now. Okay, that's 8-0. There are no public hearings, resolutions, ordinances. Anybody here for public forum? Seeing none. We'll go to discussion and reports. We'll do all the update for city council committees. We'll start with Councilman Fairbanks.
Okay, so got kind of a lot of information to unpack here. So if we're going along here, if you have a question about something and you don't understand something, say it. Just stop us. Stop Tobias, because I'm going to have Tobias explain to you where we're at today with ownership of the property, and then where we're going to be at by November with ownership of the property. And then after he gets done explaining that to you, I'm going to tell you what our options are, what the committee's options are. I guess I should have started there. Terry and Gary are on the committee with me on Dempster's, and they put a lot of time into this. We've met 3 times with Tobias before this meeting, and we've met 2 other times on our own before we went to talk to Tobias. So I really appreciate the amount of effort that these guys put in, because I meet on this every week, so they've been really tolerant of me. We've got plans for the end of it, what it's supposed to look like, but we need to get there. We need to own it and get some things taken down. So I'm gonna let Tobias explain to you where we're at now, and then I'll break down what our options are.
Yes, so the Gage County Assessor has this site broken into 5 parcels. And so those are just what we look at there. We own 2 of them today. We own the one on the far north end of the property, and we own one on the far south end of the property. We are currently working on foreclosing on 2 of the remaining 3 parcels that we do not own. That would be the parcel closest to the road. There's one there. There's a little tiny one that's towards the south end of the property that we're currently working on foreclosing on. That's in process. Again, I would anticipate by this fall, you'll have that wrapped up and taken care of. And then the other parcel, we can start foreclosure process on next March. And so again, we'll just go through the same process at that point. And again, by the end of fall of 25, then you should own the 5th and final parcel.
Yeah. Okay, so nobody's got a question about that, right? Okay, so we've been, the committee here, we've been, and Tobias as well, we've been working with the state and hand in hand with the Fed. So there's 2 different options and things we can do. So we talked about, this is what we need to do. So there's a brownfield grant that removes the asbestos. We can do that from the state, at the state level, but that's a 50-50 match. So, but it's only a 50-50 match up to $40,000. So $20,000 from us, $20,000 from them. We could remove $40,000 worth of asbestos, $20,000 for our cost. Okay, so keep that in mind. So before we and while we do that, we need to have a couple of things done before we do any demolition on the site. We need a phase 1 study. The last one of those that we had done was in 2021, and they have a shelf life. Phase 1 has a shelf life. They're good for a year, but they're really only good for 6 months. The EPA, the state, everybody says, okay, we'll take it a year, but 6 months is really the target. We also need to do a phase 2 study. We had a phase 2 study done in 2018 and 2021. There is no shelf life for those. So we don't have to do another one of those, except we do. Because of the last phase 2 study we did, the EPA said we didn't really bore deep enough in the ground. So they would like us to do another study and dig a little deeper. They would probably take what we have, but they may not. We also need a material management plan. Olson Associates has done one of that for us. So we actually have that. We don't have to pay to have that done again. And what that basically says is how you're going to handle material that you take down. You take a building down, this is what you're going to do to take it down. You're going to spray water on it when you do this. You don't get the dust flying away that's got heavy chemicals in it. You have a rock road put down in the place so you don't track in and out. If you dig up a tree, you got to leave it on site because it could be the heavy metals could be in the roots of the tree. I mean, it's a plan that says this is what we're going to do. So we already have that in place. So but we talking to Tobias, we can take down 2 buildings on site for, now we're around 160,000, no, 150,000. Yeah, 160, because the brownfield grant with an additional 20, we'd be at 180. It's 179 and 159, but for all intents and purposes, we'll go 160, 180. So we could remove 2 of the buildings that are on the site. You can see there. Okay, what we would have to do to do that is we would take the money from the general fund. We talked about it as a committee, and we don't want to put anybody's budget back. We don't want to take any capital improvement projects away from anybody. We don't want to put any vehicles or anything else we would purchase. We would take those dollars from the general fund. Okay, so that's kind of at the state level. So that being said, the EPA at the federal level, they offer a brownfield grant as well, but they are $0 match. So, and we can apply for those funds after we own all the property in the fall, September, October, probably November, like I said. So Tobias estimates, we estimate that there's about $600,000 worth of asbestos removal to be done. I think that's probably a little low. I think it's probably closer to $700,000 in all the structures. So you can see the $40,000 that we were talking about earlier, just going to make a little notch in that. There's no cost share with the brownfield grant for that. We can apply for it as soon as we own the property, like I said, and we would probably know about that within 6 months, and we'd be able to use that right away. I was wrong.
Odds of getting it.
You know, I asked Taryn Horn, she's the state NEED lady that we've been working with, and she seems to think that we'd have a pretty good shot at the brownfield grant. So that being said, so I'm going to tell you 60%.
She's always been pretty positive.
And we can probably use our grant writer people.
I'm going to tap Tobias in here in just a second on that. So they're probably 60% or better, would be my guess, but I'm a little pessimistic about it. One of the things that that the EPA will do with their federal grant is not just clean up the asbestos, but they want to clean up the dirt. So Taryn has suggested to us that when we write our grant, because you can't use this grant for demolition. And so we all know demolition is really expensive, but Taryn's suggestion is that we explain to the EPA that the dirt that we need to clean up is under buildings. And we need to get the grant and have them pay for all the demolition so we can get to the dirt that they're willing to pay for and have them pay for it all. I think that's a really clever idea. I'm not convinced that the UPA is all that convinced with Clever. So I think that's kind of a long shot. So having the two buildings that I talked about earlier removed, that would give us open ground to have the EPA grant to clean up that dirt when it's there. Because we're talking about just taking down the buildings to ground level. We're not talking about digging anything up. You don't want to disturb the soil. You don't want to dig the foundations because the EPA hasn't granted us permission to do all that. We don't know how far down we have to do. We don't need to know any of that. So all that being, I'm going to tag off here to Tobias and I'm going to jump back in. But so Bob's right. Our grant writers, Tobias has already talked to them, and so go ahead.
All right.
Tobias, how much was that federal?
The EPA, up to $5 million. We can get none. We can get $5 million.
So first off, phase one, we currently have one that they're working on.
Okay.
Again, the state has taken care and paid for all of those for us. So they have an assessment grant out there. We applied for it. We have to have it in order to be part of our foreclosure. And so they have that in process, and we'll make sure that's done before we take ownership of the next two parcels. So yes, the grant itself, I talked to Merchant McIntyre. They're willing to write this grant for us. We've already established the team. In fact, we have a meeting, I think, yet this week on putting together that grant application. We have people from the EPA on that, people from the state, NDEE on there. KSU TAB is another name you'll hear out there. They are an entity, part of Kansas State, that helps write these grants and score them, and they're part of just some overall assistance. We've talked to them a number of times. I've presented at their conferences for them. They're willing to jump in and help us with writing this particular grant. And so we are putting all those together. Today, Merchant McIntyre sent me a list of documents they wanted. We started feeding those back to them so they can put the grants together. So yes, we have started that process already.
Yeah. So obviously we're in a committee meeting and we can't make a decision here, and I'm not asking for you guys to vote. But what I want you guys to consider is whether or not we spend any dollars now, or we wait until we own the whole thing and then work on it. My preference would be, and there's a double-edged sword here too, my preference would be that we spend the $159,000 and take down the two buildings that we've got, that we have earmarked here that you see on the site. Couple of reasons for that. One, I want to keep moving on this project. Two, I'd like to be able to show them that we are engaged in this, that we're not just waiting for them to do the work for us. And three, if the buildings are down and gone and we don't get the grant to take down the buildings, we have that much more available soil or space that we can get a grant for. So I think that's the easy target in the open space to clean up the ground. And so I think that puts us ahead of it. That's a positive to that. The negative of that would be that just like years ago when we were cleaning up you guys weren't here, but when we were cleaning up the floodplain along by the river, West Court and down on South 6th, we came back for federal dollars when they became available, and we said, we're just about done. We'd like some federal dollars. And the Fed came back to us at that time and said, we're not going to give you any. You've done such a good job. We're actually using you as a model for other communities to do this, and you can do it on your own. So, and you've proved that. So you always run the risk of doing that as well. So that's just full disclosure. I'm giving you all the information because I don't want you to.
So what do we have budgeted now?
This year for dumpsters, I believe we budgeted $30,000. We spent roughly $25,000 of that acquiring the back taxes and some of those items. So I think you got about $5,000 left this year. Next year, we have $250,000 budgeted for the demolition of the schools. But we have some other opportunities there that we're looking at some possible grant opportunities later this week, have some conversations there that then might make that money be able to be moved towards dumpsters at that time.
Some part of it all.
Right.
Yeah.
Has the word skin in the game come up in any conversation from the federal or the state level?
No, they are very aware, both the EPA and the state is very aware of the steps that we've taken so far to clean this property up. They've been very pleased with what we've done to date, but they do not anticipate the city taking on an element this large on their own.
Yeah, it's to demolition the whole thing and haul it all off, it's a staggering dollar amount for a community our size.
That was gonna be my question, how much would it cost to do it all?
Oh, well, yeah, we got an idea. I mean, today, and the last study that we had to demo it all, haul it all off, clean up the site and build back to what has been suggested, 11 million. In round numbers, Rich?
The amount that it costs to clean the site up depends on what you put back on the site, right? So if you put houses back there, you have to clean the dirt more, so it becomes more expensive. If you put recreational facilities back there, you don't have to clean as much, and so it becomes cheaper for the demo. That's what you get into. Are you capping the ground, or are you removing 3 feet of soil there? So depending on what you put back there, it also impacts that cost.
So speaking of capping, and I apologize, I left that out. Everybody knows that took the tour, there's 2 basements there. There's the cafeteria, and then below that, there's the locker room. And I contacted the EPA and asked them if we can simply cap those instead of digging down 20 feet, 30 feet, and that we can just cap them similar to what we do at the dump, that we cap it with, whatever they say we need to cap it with, so we don't have to dig that up. That would take a lot of costs off the table. But that's not our decision. That's not our decision. Oh, they're not gonna tell me. I'm just throwing it out there.
Your question.
No. The guy, the low level guy that I get to talk to, no, he's not gonna get that. I'm just throwing it out there, so.
So Dave, to answer your question, so what would happen is you would prepare what's called a remedial action plan, right? It's called a RAP. In there, you do all the studying of what it takes to clean the site up. You come up with your proposal to clean it up. You submit that to the state and to the feds. They then sign off on it. I mean, there's a lot of going back and forth, trust me, there's a lot of negotiations there. But that's something you would propose to them and say, hey, let's leave everything below 5 feet in the ground. And they may say yes, they may say no. They may say that's fine, but then you're going to sign these environmental covenants back on the ground. The former gas plant that we have, that site has environmental covenants on it, which restrict what can be built there ever in the future. I don't think anybody has an issue with that at this particular site. If you want a clean bill of health, you'd have to remove all those.
Yeah, we're not doing that. This isn't a site the city's ever going to sell to anyone. So this isn't a site that can be developed.
So that's it. Again, it's just kind of a wide range, and you can kind of work within there someplace that this council agrees to, and the EPA and state.
Didn't we kind of settle on this preliminary, when we started this, on the plan for recreational use as the highest and best use?
I believe so.
I think we
that's
even
what
picked the plan out, didn't
Well,
we?
sometime before I was here, we did an engineering study that drafted it all out and drew it all out, the cost estimates and the whole thing. That was done years ago, I know.
Right, so the EPA helped us out, and they did a redevelopment study for us at that site, and they came back, and that's where you have some of the drawings for some proposed recreational facilities there.
Yeah, so really kind of what I'm asking you guys tonight to consider, I wanted you to get all I wanted everybody on the council to have all the same information that the committee has, because it's kind of a lot to unpack, but what I'd like you to consider is spending that $160,000. And I asked Tobias Friday when I talked to you, we have taken out of the general fund, and we have.
So the numbers we have at the end of March are $4.6 million in general fund. I asked at the end of April, she said there's been no significant change. It's gonna be right around that number again at the end of April, which is down about $1 million from the start of the fiscal year. And it puts us about 4 months of cash reserves. Again, we try to be between 3 and 6. And so with 4.6, you'd be right about 4 months.
Done a lot of stuff with that extra $1 million.
Yeah, we did a lot of stuff with that.
A lot of stuff.
So what I'm asking you to consider is about $160,000. And so, I know that seems like a lot of money, but I want to remind you guys that when we were all running for council, when people said, you know, what are the things you want to do? Everybody says those right away. We want to do economic development. We want to see Beatrice grow. Nobody ever said, we want to make sure that we have a lot more money in the general fund than we did when we started. Oh, I want to save money too. I'm that guy too. I'm as conservative as it comes with this stuff, but I'm also progressive and I want to see us get some things done. So you can't make that decision tonight, guys, but go ahead.
The 159 accomplishes freshman living.
It takes down these two buildings, Tim.
Those two buildings and the asbestos is covered.
No, we're gonna keep the asbestos out because I am pretty sure, I wouldn't give you a percentage, but if I was a gambling man, I'd bet on it, that the brownfield grant from the EPA, from the Fed, that they'll pay for all of it. And we'll be able to get it all done at once. So instead of spending $20,000 on it today, we're gonna get the EPA to spend $600,000 or $700,000 and have it all done. They'll do it all at the same time, right?
What's that?
We get the brownfield grant from the EPA and they're gonna remove the asbestos. It'll all be done at the same time.
When you say same time, you mean over a course of,
A year.
yes.
Okay,
Yeah, it'll be a process. It'll be like the gas plant site, right? There's just constantly work going on down there that.
and so, and one of the other things is, I guess I'll throw one more thing in there, and Tobias and I had this conversation. You can't just put the building in a big pile and haul it off. We have to clean it out. So there's nothing set in stone, but, next year when we start to hire our summer help, we've talked about hiring a couple of people that just will do that. We'll just have a roll-off, they'll have a series of roll-offs there, and they'll spend the summer hauling stuff out. So, because that needs to be done before we can do this.
Yeah, it's one of the ways to keep your costs down. We do it on residential houses today. If somebody has a residential house and leaves all the furniture in it, it's considered a dirty load, and it goes to the MSW landfill at one price. If you clean it all out, it's considered a clean load and can go to C&D landfill at a much reduced rate. Same thing here. And that comes through that wrap. Some of this stuff may be able to go to our landfill. Some of it's gonna have to be shipped off to a special landfill far away. And so the more you can kind of investigate it and pare it down so only the most needed stuff goes to the landfill far away, you can save on your cost.
Yes.
I got a question on that boring. You said we didn't go far enough or deep enough with the boring. How much further are they wanting us to go? Or how far did we go down and how much further do they want us to go down?
It depends on the location of the site. So there's different places around there. They board sites at different locations throughout the facility there.
About the old slag dump.
There are some there, but that'd be another site. I think they're gonna want some additional information. Some of those, when they went down, they were still hitting contaminants. And so they want you to go a little deeper till you get to clean dirt. Whether that's 5 more feet or 10 more feet, nobody knows for sure.
Now that will all have to be dug out and removed, correct?
Not necessarily.
We could maybe okay.
Depends on how deep it is, what the chemicals are, and how much of the chemicals exist in the ground.
Well, I was just, they ripped us down there by the river.
Yeah.
And,
Well, but some similar, a little bit different there, Rich.
Yeah.
It's because it's right by the river.
Yeah.
This is, although it's in the floodway, it's, yeah.
So what would be the timing of the new phase 1 study since it has a shelf life
It is,
and the cost?
it is currently underway as we speak. It'll be done, I would imagine, within the month. And the EPA, or excuse me, in the state, NDEE picks up 100% of that cost for us. They've been very helpful on doing that for us.
I'd like to hear from other people. I definitely have an opinion.
Okay.
But
Well,
I don't want to-
I really appreciate your opinion, Bob, but you don't have a vote.
That's true, but I have not an opinion.
I know.
So I might have a bigger vote we can get it on here.
I've got an opinion for you, Ted.
You know,
I've been very iffy on this thing, but we've been tinkering around with this thing for 20, 30 years. Well, then I've been on for,
It was usable, I mean, it was being used up until about 8 years ago.
Yeah.
And we've really only,
but that was only one building.
right, but we've really only got our teeth into it in the last 3 years. 3 years. So,
But the front of that thing has looked terrible for years.
well, and sadly, Rich, the front of it is gonna be the last thing to go.
I know, but I think we ought to make a move on it, just get it done. If we can get that Brownville grant, we should be
It would be
set on high
helpful.
copy,
It would be helpful.
yes. And if we don't, we're gonna have to go from there.
By this time next year, if we don't get the Brownfield grant in the fall, and by this time next year, we'll own all of it, there's some real big decisions that have to be made.
Like I said.
Well, I think it should be done. One thing I'm concerned about, and I've voiced this before, is those broken windows. Somebody's going to get hurt. It's just a matter of time, and because, kids mess around there, somebody that's gonna get hurt.
Unfortunately, we can't do much about
I
that.
know,
because
I
that's the
understand.
big- So right now, we're concentrating on the two little ones.
Yeah, I know, but I think overall, I think this whole project needs to.
But that roof on one of those little ones is in pretty bad shape. If there was some kids in there playing, something just happened to happen, we could lose a child real quick.
Exactly.
Kid, and then we would all feel like, oh, do
Agree with you, Rich.
something needs to be done.
I guess, I think there needs to be at least some thought through this. First of all, I'd like to see where our numbers are in our general fund in August, September. Because whether we do it today or we wait until September or October to see where we're at, it's not the end of the world. And secondly, I would like to see where our chances are with that $250,000 for tearing down a school. If we get that grant, that can go into the Dempster building. So to me, I think we need to sit and be patient to see where we end up at.
And
as a plan, as a good plan, that's what I asked for, so.
Yeah, and I agree. So let me address to you guys where I'm at with this, with Bob's thing. And this is why I'm bringing it up now. My concern is that, although we did get, the roundabout came in a lot less than we thought it was going to, that was a bonus, but that doesn't happen all that often. And my concern is that we have all these other projects, and this is a project that's glaring. And as you remember, when we set our goals, this was the number 2 goal of the council. And my concern is that we're going to have all these expenditures in other places, and this is going to get pushed to the bottom of the pile. And so I'm just trying to keep this project on the top of the pile. That's really what I'm trying to do.
To our good fortune, we had 25% of our school demolition cost reduced by the, so that meant,
Right.
cut it 1/4, that's quite a bit.
Yeah, and again, Bob, I'm not asking for him to make a decision tonight, and I don't disagree with waiting till August, but come on mid-August, I want all these numbers in these guys' heads now, so if it doesn't work out, we can still get something torn down yet this year. That's where I'm at with it.
Other discussion?
If we start tearing a building down early, will that affect any of these future grants, like say, well, you've already started the project? Will that affect these $5 million grant rate and stuff?
I don't know that it helps or hurts. We haven't gotten a feeling either way.
You know, there's
Like Ted indicated earlier, like this, congratulations, you're doing a good job, we'll reward you, or hey, you're gonna find on your own.
Just keep moving on your own.
Yeah, I don't know which way that can cut either.
But the one thing it does do, Mike, is that the buildings are gone off the site. It frees up that ground for the EPA to give us money to clean that up. And that's kind of a given. My perspective, that's a given. So.
Have we put this on Merchant McIntyre's plate and asked them to take a look at it and see what they see down there?
Yes, so I had that conversation with them a couple weeks ago. Again, I've got a telephone conference with them. I think it's this week. Yeah, I think it's this week. To start talking about this grant application. We've already started getting our team assembled. to help us put this thing together. The application will be due in November-ish. They haven't come out the exact date yet, but sometime in there, June, when it's due. And yeah, turnaround time is generally about that 6-month time period for a federal grant.
That's where we're at, guys.
All right, Terry, you want to give a quick report on?
Sure. First off, I just, on the last thing, I think your alternative is the best alternative. I do, but I also agree with Ted on the committee that if we don't see some movement, and if we have money available and stuff, we gotta be moving on this. I mean, the public needs to know that we're doing it. We need to know what we're doing. I don't think it's gonna end up hurting us on a future grant. And I'm gonna vote in favor of doing it. Okay. Appreciate the chance to bring you guys up to date. This is more of a, we're gonna ask you for anything, more of an update, make sure that we're being transparent and we have things going on downtown all the time. And I just wanna make sure everybody is with us on everything that we're doing. We have Dwayne and Michael are on the committee, Bob's on the committee, Tobias is on the committee. We have 3 people from the public that are on the committee, and we talk through downtown quite often, continually. So projects that we have going right now, let's start with Ella Street, 2nd to 3rd, right down here. That's already funded. We have topo and geological, all the surveying is done. Storm sewer water main will be done at exactly the same time. What we want to do with that street there is take the engineer's drawings and try all different things that we may want to do in our downtown master plan that we adopted here months ago. We want to have trees and bump outs and shrubbery and just see what looks good, what the public likes, what they don't like, and try that in an area because it's kind of away from the heart of town. So that project is well on its way. We will have that thing finalized and hopefully done before the end of the year, okay? And we'll like everybody's input, the public's input, everybody's input on what they like and don't like with that. And the main reason is because we've got a CCCFF grant that is Civic and Community Center Financing Fund grant that I'm going from memory here, but I think it's 275, and we match it, so it's $550,000 to revitalize, make it more pedestrian friendly 4th Street and 5th Street from Market to Ella. Those are pretty hardcore downtown streets. So we won't be able to do a ton with $550,000, but we make a heck of a start on that. And we want to use this property over here on Ella to give us some guidance on what we should do or not do on those streets. Okay, we have that money, so, and that's already part of our master plan downtown, but that is planned in the fall, winter to bid that out, and in the spring, do something with those properties down there. So
How long
both of
do we
those,
have on that?
pardon me?
How long do we have to use that money?
I believe we have until 26. I'd have to look at the exact date in 26, but you should have 2 construction cycles.
Yeah, that's what I've written down anyway.
Completed or started?
Complete.
Completed. Yep. Then in a much bigger way, we have the RAISE grant, right? That's just under $22 million spread across 5 years. If we did receive that grant, that's coming up the end of next month, the 30th of June. We'll find out whether or not we actually will get that money or not. That's, if we happen to get it, that's like a 5-6 year construction project. That's not like whipped out. That's over a period of years. And they have inflation noted, that's why it's 22 million, okay? They have inflation built into it, all, because everybody knows construction costs and everything will go up during that 5-6 years. But we'll see, that project that's our #1 goal as a city council, and we'll see whether that actually happens. That will change our downtown if that happens. We have 2 $400,000 grants to revitalize downtown, where we took applications from the downtown people, and one is just about gone. It's not gone, it's done. One is almost gone and completed. We're in the very final stages of that. And the second one that we got, we have like 45 applications or so for a little over $3 million, if my memory serves me right. People that applied for $400,000. So it shows that there's a lot of people interested in doing that. And it's not all us doing it. It's a mutual thing between us and the property owners, or the city and the property owners. That's well on its way right now. And we don't get much chance to do that, but the committee on the first set around a grant and first 400,000, and the committee is working on the second round. They met multiple times with Tobias, and we need to thank those people for putting their time in. Nobody ever really hears about that, but thank you people for putting your time in for doing that. Maybe you'd be better off talking about Kensington T than I would be.
Sure. So the Kensington property, is, we all know, right, we'll work with Hoppy on that one. They still have their architects that are going through the property. I think they're trying to finalize their designs, which then help them finalize their budgets. Most importantly, though, is everybody remembers last year we received a grant for $1 million, but it came with some federal strings that made it unusable. And so everybody turned that grant down. Well, Senator Dorn was very thankful and was able to get that back into the budget this year for us. That new grant opened up today. And so we have been invited to apply for that new grant. We've got a phone call into DED just to make sure exactly how they want that grant to be written, and some of those questions get answered. But we'll submit our letter of intent or letter of interest first, and then they'll come back and ask us for a formal application the next go around. So we are in the process of doing that one. Again, they reached back out to the communities that got the grant last year first. So we're hopeful that that grant will come through. Same amount.
And they do have a preference kind of built in for those communities that won the award last time.
Good. Is there a time limit
When it comes time for,
when it's approved or not?
I don't know. I haven't seen that part yet.
Okay. All right. Well,
I think the last go around, we heard sometime around August, September for the award. And that's whenever we all figured out the red tape that kind of made it unusable.
yeah. Well, so that's moving along, right? We've done everything that we can do locally to try to get that $1 million so that we can get into the agreement with Hoppy and get that thing going. So Kensington is moving along. And I don't get this chance, so I'm going to do it right now because there's no place else to do that. But I want to thank you two guys, Tobias and Taylor, because you guys have like real jobs and you're doing grant work on the side with our grant writers, and I appreciate all the time, all this due that you guys put in on this. Bob, I appreciate your guidance on this because we need guidance on these things. Appreciate the committee that is working on all this with me, and there's just a lot going on downtown all the time. There is. So I appreciate the opportunity that we have to talk on the committee, bring everybody up to date. Does anybody have any questions about what I just regurgitated?
The only thing that I always say this, and everybody appreciates this, is that we are not modeling after the narrow Fifth Street one block that we had. Things that we are doing aren't going to have that narrow model, but that one block.
We learned.
So, just want to, because we'll talk about that. And I think we've all heard loud and clear.
Yes.
That that's probably not the way we want to address the slow down and make it more pedestrian friendly.
Oh, you know what? I shouldn't walk right. The engineering department is going crazy right now on this stuff, and they should be thanked. And James, the whole group should be thanked for all the work they're doing because they're going nuts right now doing all that. If we get this 22 million, we're going to talk about something else. So thank them, please, at the department head meeting for us.
Any updates? I know you guys have been working continually. So,
Well, with the nice weather, we got all kinds of nice new projects that come up about what daily Tobias probably. We could give him a list of what to help us on. The only shiny objects we ever see are the bumpers on old cars that aren't quite rusted up yet in the yards. So we're gonna have to start prioritizing things and decide what's most important for this summer. And I'm gonna have a meeting middle of June, something like that. And we'll try to get a list prepared and we'll ask the committee what we should do and see what we got to prioritize. So we've got a lot of things we got to look at, and of course a lot of them are You know, the people that have to clean up something don't like them and the neighbors do, so.
Yeah.
That's kind of where we're at.
Questions for Gary?
No, I want to go back to Terry's. You didn't ask about that one. You mentioned the narrow Fifth Street, we're not gonna pattern after that.
Yep.
Why haven't we thought about putting those parking spots deeper
On this street?
on Fifth Street? What would be the holdup to that, if any? Because I get asked about it like that.
So, is it possible? Yes. The difficult part, it becomes a very big engineering question, right? So you'd have to cut out a couple of feet of sidewalk, extend the curb to make it work. There would be a substantial cost to that, to do that. If anybody's ever looked at Fifth Street, it's very flat, so drainage is not the best on that particular block either. Short answer is doable. Long answer is it would take some work to get it done.
I just need the answers, so quit asking me.
We can put it back in parallel parking in there.
Maybe we find out what
There's
it
at least
costs.
on one side.
You know,
Yeah, the bump outs are built outside.
what it costs? Maybe we find out what it costs.
The planters are all built in there.
And the way you hit the right thing, you're gonna hit one side. That's at least,
Put something in there.
couple feet.
Somebody's gonna be unhappy.
I think you find out with everything we do.
Anything else?
So, I want to add one more thing on this deal. So what the lead-in on this Dempster's deal was, there was some state money available for small towns. And we were in line for that and we didn't get it. And we could wait for that, but it's just like we've seen with the downtown revitalization stuff. It's getting more popular, not less popular. So we didn't make the cut on any of those dollars this year. There is zero chance we make the cut next year or any of the years going forward, so.
Yeah, to clarify that too, all money first goes to second-class cities.
Yeah.
Go down, so
Yeah,
typically the money's not gonna be there.
Yeah, we put in for it this year and didn't make the cut because all the money was spent on the smaller communities, and that's, we have more money than that, so.
Just to clarify on that a little bit further, the score we got back on that particular grant was a perfect score.
Right, and we still didn't get any money.
So, no money.
Right, so I'm just saying, we're not getting it next year either, folks,
We're not.
so, okay.
At least a car in that boy.
Perfect score.
All right, Mr. McLean.
I move the meeting be adjourned at 6:42 PM.
Your vote, please. And that's 8-0. City council will start in, what's that? 18 minutes.
Feels like when you get an A plus plus.
Test and still fail. He's talking about water, right here.